Most people think talent gets you noticed. But Marco learned the hard way that sometimes your uniform speaks louder than your art. Here's what happened when a janitor's secret identity collided with the art world's biggest snobs. Marco spent his mornings exactly the same way. Mop in hand, earbuds in, gliding across marble floors that cost more than most people's yearly rent. The Sterling Gallery wasn't just any art space. This was where Manhattan's elite came to drop six figures on paintings they'd hang once and forget about. And Marco, he was invisible. Just another kid in a stained uniform pushing dirty water around priceless masterpieces. But every night after his shift ended, something changed. He'd head to his cramped studio apartment, pull out his phone, and become someone completely different. M. Stencil, an anonymous street artist whose work had been quietly building a massive following online. 15,000 people watched his every post. They had no idea the guy creating art that challenged society's obsession with wealth was the same person scrubbing their gallery floors. The irony wasn't lost on Marco. He'd applied to 3 different art programs, got rejected from all of them. Not enough experience, they said. No formal training. Translation? No money for the right connections. So he took the gallery job thinking he'd at least be close to the world he wanted to join. Instead, he became part of the furniture. Something people looked past on their way to what really mattered. That Tuesday started like any other. Marco was working the main floor when Paris Vandermeer walked in with her daughter Lola. If you didn't know Paris, you weren't paying attention. Reality show star. Social media influencer. Professional rich person. She had that specific energy of someone who'd never been told no in her entire life. Paris spotted him immediately. Not because she was friendly, because she needed someone to look down on. Her heels clicked against the floor he'd just cleaned as she pulled Lola closer, voice dripping with manufactured concern. Why is this gutter trash cleaning around these expensive paintings? One slip, and he'll ruin a piece worth more than his life. Marco kept his head down. He'd learned that responding only made it worse. These people didn't see him as human. They saw him as scenery that occasionally moved. But Paris wasn't done. She circled closer, examining him like he was part of an exhibit. "I'm just doing my job, Mom." Marco's voice stayed level. "I actually paint too. I want to go to a good art college someday." The laugh that came out of Paris should have been illegal. That sharp, performative cackle designed to cut. Serious business is for serious people, not for the help who can't even afford a car. You don't belong in a place like this. Lola looked uncomfortable. She'd pulled out her phone, probably documenting this for whatever social platform was trending that week. Marco noticed her screen. She was scrolling through an Instagram account. His Instagram account. M. Stencil's latest post was right there. A piece about how society measures human worth by bank accounts instead of character. She had no idea she was looking at the same person her mother was currently destroying. Marco went back to mopping. Paris went back to critiquing paintings she didn't understand. Just another day at the Sterling Gallery. Except someone else had just walked through those glass doors. Someone wearing an expensive suit and carrying a leather portfolio. Someone who was looking directly at Marco with an expression that wasn't disgust. It was recognition. The man approached slowly, weaving between sculptures and installations. Paris noticed him immediately. Important-looking people always caught her attention, but he walked right past her extended hand, walked past Lola's attempt at a selfie angle, stopped directly in front of the kid holding a mop. "Are you the anonymous artist M. Stencil?" Everything stopped. Marco's grip tightened on the mop handle. The gallery suddenly felt smaller. Paris's perfectly painted eyebrows shot up. Her daughter's phone stayed pointed at him, still recording. The man in the suit extended his hand. "Daniel Chen. I'm the director of the Riverside Contemporary Arts Program." Marco knew that name. Riverside was the most prestigious art school in the state, maybe the country, the place that had rejected his application 6 months ago. "I don't understand." Marco's voice came out barely above a whisper. "We rejected your formal application because we needed to see more range, more depth, But your street work? That's what we've been looking for. Paris stepped between them, her smile sharp enough to draw blood. Excuse me, but you're clearly mistaken. This is our cleaning boy. He mops floors. He doesn't create anything. Daniel didn't even glance at her. He pulled out his phone, opened Instagram, and held it next to Marco's face. Same eyes, same bone structure, same small scar above the left eyebrow. You've been challenging societal structures through art for 2 years, commenting on wealth inequality, discrimination, access. Your last piece about invisible labor got shared 40,000 times. Marco felt his world tilting sideways. You knew? We've known for 8 months. We have scouts who identify emerging talent. Your work appeared on our radar last spring. Lola's phone was shaking now. She'd stopped recording, her face going pale as she made the connection. Mum, this is M. Stencil, the artist you follow, the one whose print you just bought last week. Paris's expression cracked. That's impossible. The artist I follow is sophisticated, talented, not some nobody who cleans for minimum wage. That's exactly the point of his work, Daniel said quietly. The invisible people you walk past every day have just as much value, sometimes more. He turned back to Marco. We're offering you a full scholarship, housing included, studio space, access to materials, everything you need. But there's a catch. Marco knew there had to be. People like him didn't get fairy tale endings. You have to reveal your identity. No more hiding behind M. Stencil. Your art challenges people to see the invisible. You need to let them see you. Paris made a choking sound. Her daughter had moved away from her, standing closer to Marco instead. I'm sorry, Lola said. I recorded what she said to you. If you want it for evidence or whatever. Marco looked at this girl who'd grown up with everything he'd never had. She was offering him ammunition against her own mother. That's exactly what Paris would do. Use the recording. Destroy her reputation the way she'd tried to destroy his. But Marco hadn't created M. Stencil to become like them. I don't need it. He looked at Daniel. When do I start? 2 weeks. We'll announce your acceptance publicly. Your story matters. The kid who worked as a janitor while creating art that moved thousands of people. That's the narrative that changes things. Paris grabbed her designer bag and stormed toward the exit, Lola trailing behind with one last apologetic glance. Marco watched them go. Then he looked down at the mop in his hands. He'd be putting it down soon. Not because he was ashamed of the work, but because he'd finally earned the chance to pick up something else. Daniel handed him a folder, acceptance letter, scholarship details, housing assignment. Welcome to Riverside, Marco. Show them what invisible looks like when it finally gets seen. Marco stood in that gallery for another moment, surrounded by paintings worth more than he'd ever imagined earning. But none of them told stories like his. None of them understood what it meant to be looked through instead of looked at. He thought about every person who'd walked past him with their expensive shoes and their expensive opinions. How they'd measured his worth by his uniform instead of his vision. Paris wasn't unique. She was just honest about what most of them thought quietly. The scholarship letter felt heavy in his hands, not because of the paper, because of what it represented. Proof that the door didn't need to open for you if you were willing to build your own entrance. That the people who couldn't see your value were never going to be the ones who mattered anyway. 2 weeks later, Marco walked into Riverside with nothing but a backpack and 15,000 followers who'd been supporting him all along. The invisible kid who'd been hiding behind a mop and a screen name finally had a face. And it turned out, when you stop letting other people define your worth, that's when the real art begins. Sometimes the people who treat you like you're worthless are really just threatened by everything you're capable of becoming. Marco learned that lesson while mopping floors, but he proved it by refusing to stay there.